Hey guys, it's Andrea. Welcome back to Fruitful Gardening. I'm out here in the garden today. As you can see, some of the sunflowers have started blooming. Those are the chocolate cherry sunflowers. I've got a lot to do out here today. I had some family in town and they were visiting, and so I didn't get to tend to the garden like I normally would. And so there's also been a lot of storms that have come through, windstorm, rainstorm, and a lot of my tomatoes are knocked over and they have been growing tremendously. So I need to get out here, tie them, and maybe trim them. And so I'm gonna see what I can do to get them perked up again because some of them are falling over. So I got my clippers for that and some scissors to cut this string. I have these ties. I think you get them at the dollar store. This is my last one. I ran out, and so the only thing I could find in my house was string. So that's what I'm going to use today to tie them up, and hopefully I can find these. I looked at Walmart and they didn't have any, so hopefully I can find them because these are reusable and I really like them. They're soft and it just comes in a long, wrapped around a cardboard thing, and you just cut them to the size that you need. So hopefully I can find some of those. I've got a basket and some stuff to collect a couple of things that I need to get out here, and so I'm gonna go ahead and get started. So these tomatoes right here, these are my indeterminate, and they are the ones that are really leaning because they don't have a fence. They only have these bamboo stakes, so I'm gonna see if I can get them put back up. They're so heavy at this point, I don't know if I'm going to be able to make them stay up with these poles, because the ground is so, a little tomato fell off. The ground is so wet. Okay, I think the determinate tomatoes are a lost cause because I have no more stakes or anything to tie these up, and they are pretty heavy right now. They've gotten pretty bushy. They've got a lot of tomatoes on them. So I think I'm just going to let them fall and let them do their own thing because I don't have anything else to tie them up with. But most of my other tomatoes are on fences, so I can go tie those up. So I went and got my gloves because there's one thing right here that I need to deal with. The zucchini. The zucchini is not doing good. The squash bugs got to it. I got probably 10 zucchini off of these 5 plants. And that's why I plant so many, is because I know in my area that squash bugs are a real problem. And I tried to keep the eggs down and come out here and get them, but it just, at this time, they're gone. So they still have flowers, but they look so not good, and they haven't been giving me any zucchini for probably a week and a half. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull those so I can plant something that's actually gonna give me return, because zucchini take up a lot of space in the garden. So I've got 2 in this bed and 3 in this bed that I'm gonna go ahead and pull, and I'm just gonna throw over this fence to the ducks. So I got a zucchini this size, but also the vine borers have gotten here. So those are 2 pests that are really prevalent in my area, and they really attack the zucchini. And then I've got tomatoes in here, but this zucchini is just kind of taking over, so I want to give them some space. And I could probably plant some lettuce or something smaller right here so that it gives these tomatoes a chance to grow. But I will save this zucchini, even though it's really small. It's still a cute little zucchini, so. This vine right here, I'll leave that. That's a Georgia candy roaster, but you can see the damage here. I mean, that's why the plant's not producing. I thought there was another one in here. And this one's got really bad damage also. And so sometimes I've had it where if they're laying down on the ground and they re-root at a different spot, then this doesn't affect the plant. But it's been so wet lately, I don't know why it didn't re-root, but they haven't re-rooted, so I just gotta pull them out. That was actually a different squash vine that I accidentally ripped out with those. So I found one I can tie up here. And this isn't exactly the strongest string to be tying up tomatoes with, but hopefully it'll last till I can find some more stuff to tie them up with. Do it with gloves on. Okay, I got that one tied up. There is more tomatoes in here, but I'm just gonna get these other zucchini out. So these right here, and this one actually looks pretty nice, but I'll show you down in here all the damage. There's a lot of damage down there. And so although the leaves look healthy, the plant is damaged. It's not gonna produce anything beyond this point because it's going out of the bed, and I have plastic down in here, the garden fabric, and so it can't actually re-root and start that new plant to produce. So that's why I'm just gonna go ahead and pull them. Some years are good years for zucchini, some are not. And this year, I didn't get near as many as I got last year. They survived a little longer last year. But we had such a late start to the season here that I think that's why that happened. So I'm gonna pull these out. And that's one thing about gardening is you just have to be adaptive, be able to adapt and say, okay, this plant isn't doing well. We can get something else in here that's still got plenty of time to grow and produce food for us. And that's my main goal in this garden, is to produce food. So I try to keep things in that are producing food and then take things out that aren't producing food, even though I would love to save it. At this point, it would just be better for me to plant something else. That's the, I mean, I did break it. It wasn't actually broken, but you can see that it was just not doing good. This one was actually already broken, and it's really mushy. So these tomatoes are reaching the top of the fence. These are the pink Oxheart. And so I'm gonna tie up these ones that are coming out the back. Take off these yucky gloves because they got kind of mushy and wet. Okay. Let's tie some tomatoes. Like this one right here. I'm gonna tie this one up because it's kind of falling and I don't want the limb to break. And I know there's a lot of different methods to tie tomatoes, like the Florida weave and all kinds of other different things that you could do. And this actually isn't the big fencing, it's just regular yard fencing. And I just use what I have to make trellises and things like that. And so here's another one that's kind of hanging. So I'm gonna tie this one too. Got two there. I think if I just tie this one, it'll stay up. And this is something you have to do with tomatoes probably once or twice a week, is come out here and tie them, because they grow super fast once they get to that point of upward growth. And I actually haven't been trimming these either. Usually I keep the bottom. I did trim a couple of leaves off the bottom, but that's about it. I think that's all for this side. Let's go around to the other side of this one and see if there's any hanging in the front. So there's a couple that are kind of forward a little bit, like this one. I'll go ahead and hook it up over here. And tomatoes are definitely something that is more climate related on how you grow your tomatoes. I am in a very humid area, and so tomatoes suffer from all kinds of things when they're in a humid area. But I don't like to trim mine back so much that I'm only getting, you know, 1 or 2 branches worth of fruit. I like to just see how much they can do. And what I'm looking for in a variety specifically for my area is something that can survive the summers here with my climate. And so there's so many different kinds of tomatoes, and you just trial and error to see which tomatoes suffer through the summer and survive and give you good fruit, and which ones do not survive the summer. This is the first year I've grown these Oxheart, these pink Oxheart. And so far I'm really impressed with their growth and their vigor and how healthy they are. So we will see as it gets hotter and the summer goes on how they do. So here's another thought that I have. These tomatoes here, these pink Oxheart, are doing so good. And I have all these nasturtiums planted with them. So I'm wondering, is that why these are doing so good? It's because I planted them with nasturtiums and it's kind of in some way helping them? Is that what's going on? I don't know. So I'm gonna go around and get the rest of these done. All right, I'm on the last bed that I'm gonna do today because these other two beds that are the ones that I haven't done, the tomatoes really aren't that big yet, so I don't need to really tie them. But these are kind of falling, so I'm gonna go ahead and get those. And there's some shade right here from the pecan tree, so my camera's not gonna overheat. It doesn't like it when I film in the middle of the garden for a long period of time. Okay, so that part's done. There's a couple things that I want to harvest out here. There's some oregano down here that I'm gonna chop. I've already chopped the tops one time, but I want to keep doing it so that it'll keep producing. And then there's basil over here that's about to go to seed, so I need to get it. It's my lemon basil. I need to get that chopped. And even though there's a breeze, it's getting a little hot out here today, but I wanted to show you the tomatillos so you can see how those are growing. So this whole row here there's tomatillos in the front and tomatoes behind it along the fence. And they've got some really nice tomatillos starting to grow. So I'm hoping I can make some salsa verde this year. Oh, one of them fell. Something got in there and ate that. Probably a bug, little stinker. So those are one of the spots that I have tomatillos. And then this is the other tomatillos that I have. From about there down to here. And they've got a lot of, I think these might be the purple ones. I can't remember where I planted the purple, if I planted purple here or over there, but one of them is green and one of them is purple. So once I start harvesting, then I'll know. But none of them are ready yet, but the plants are beautiful. And then we've got some really tall sunflowers. These are the chocolate cherry. It is so beautiful. Look at how tall these are compared to how tall I am. They're huge. Sunflowers are so fun because they just get so tall. And my husband was out here yesterday and he was talking about the sunflowers. He was like, your sunflowers are so tall, they're shading the garden. And I actually put those there on purpose because I've had a garden in this area before. It was in the ground garden, so that was why it wasn't very successful. But this area gets sun all day from sun up to sundown. It goes all the way over and across. So I did plant those sunflowers there on purpose so that it will provide a little bit of afternoon shade at the very end of the day, so that everything wouldn't get too scorched. Because yes, most of the things in here need full sunlight, but when you're talking about sun up to sundown in the summer, that's a lot of sun. So I did put those there on purpose to shade at the end of the day just a little bit. So I'm gonna get in this bed now and I'm gonna harvest all of this basil. So this is the lemon basil, and I've just been coming out here and snipping it down and so that it'll keep growing. You don't want to let it go to seed because then it might get a little more bitter and you lose the production of the plant. I mean, I've used basil to dehydrate once it went to seed, and it was fine dehydrated. So I think it's more if you were going to be eating it fresh. You don't want it to go to seed. But I love lemon basil. It is so delicious. So lemony. Smells like lemon. But it has the classic basil taste also. So I'm just snipping it, all these tops. And they just continue to get more bushy when you snip the tops. So I'm probably going to take this inside and dehydrate it today. And I was going to make some spaghetti sauce. So I'll probably use some of it for that too. I didn't snap that one. I accidentally pulled it out. That's okay. We got lots of other ones in here. And I've got basil. Oh, I just pulled another one. I've got basil in a lot of other places too. But this one is actually doing the best, I think, because it's in full sun. My other basil is kind of in the shade. So it's a little slower growing. So there's the basil harvest. I still have some other basils that I want to get to. And I think I'm going to get some scissors and cut a couple of these green onions to take inside. And these have been planted since last spring. These are the ones that I actually transplanted over here from the other garden, and they just keep coming back. Every time I cut them, they grow back even more and more, and they're a really good green onion, really hardy. They did seed, some of them seeded, and I chopped that, and then they just came back again. So, green onions. Let's go get the oregano. So this is one of the oregano right here, and I'm just doing the same thing. Oh, there was a caterpillar on that. I'm just doing the same thing that I was doing with the basil and snipping off the tops. Which I should probably get some scissors. So I got some scissors to do this. Okay, it's later in the day now. I am back out in the garden. I had to go inside and do some inside chores, and I came out here and picked some cucumbers. Some good looking cucumbers. Not enough for a batch of pickles, but at least it's starting for another batch. I've already canned 20 quarts of pickles. So the cucumbers are doing really good. And then I harvested the radishes. And so this one is a monster. I think it was about to go to seed. I would have harvested these last week, but I had company, and so I just didn't get to harvest them. So I harvested the radishes, and I'll pickle those also. And so now I'm going to go through and I'm going to get all of the dehydrated. You can hear the little clicking. They're dried on the vine. Get all these orca beans off, and then I'm going to shell them. look at how crazy this is. So these plants are kind of laying over on their side a little bit, and this was touching the ground. That is in its pod, busting out because it sprouted. That is crazy. I knew I should have gotten out here last week, but I just didn't have the time. And it's actually this month, July, in about a week is when I need to get these beds ready for fall planting. So even though these are looking good right now, and they did like reflower, and they're producing more beans, I need this space. So I'm gonna have to, that's a weed. I'm gonna have to come out here and empty this bed out and a couple of these other beds so that I can get my fall crop in a couple of weeks. So that's why I'm trying to get out here and get these now. And it's been so wet, I'm not even sure. Something's been eating these. I'm not even sure how they're gonna look when I shell them. They're pretty yucky looking, but I'm still gonna try. So look at those. These are orca. They are so cute. Okay, so I finished shelling those and I've learned a couple of things. This is what I got. Not that much. There's some of them. They're just so cute. Okay, so I did lose quite a few to mold. Like the actual bean was moldy. So I think, well, it has been really wet here. I did wait too long, really, to pull those off. I should have pulled them off when they just started drying and let them dry in the house. That probably would have kept that from happening. So I lost quite a few like that. When I go to pull those plants, I will take the beans off, the ones that I can see that are swollen, that'll actually have a bean in them, and I will let them dry in the house. And that way, hopefully I can get some more beans, because I don't want this to happen again. I kind of lost, I don't know, I think I lost maybe 15 beans because of that. So this isn't a lot, but I like to grow things that are fun and things that are interesting to me. So that's kind of something I would urge everyone to do that has a garden, is to grow different things. And I try to pick something different every year. That's kind of just like a fun thing to grow, and maybe it's just exciting or it makes you happy to see it. We are gonna eat these. I mean, I'm not gonna just keep these laying around. We're gonna eat them, but I just thought the color was so cute. Like half black, half white. They have little dots. So that was my fun thing that I picked to grow this year. And I've done Job's Tears is what I believe it's called. It's like a grass, and it's these beads that come off the top of the grass, and you can make jewelry with it and stuff. I didn't really have enough that actually grew to do anything with it, and I tried to save them, and I didn't dehydrate them enough, I guess, and they got moldy. So that was kind of a bum, but that's lessons learned in the garden, and that's kind of what we have to do as gardeners, is just do what you know and do what you can and learn from your lessons. Like, I learned that I should not have left these on the plant like I did. I should have picked them a lot earlier, and definitely they shouldn't have been laying on the ground. I mean, that's kind of a no-brainer, but it happened and it is what it is. So we'll definitely enjoy these, and they have been fun to grow. So I will still get the rest of those off of there in the next, probably in the next week, and just let them dry in the house so that they don't get moldy or anything. And so we got a lot done today. We got all the tomatoes tied up that we needed to tie up. We got the basil harvested, and we harvested some oregano, and I took both of those inside and I went ahead and cleaned them up, washed them, put them in the dehydrator. So that should be ready by tomorrow to put in a jar to have dehydrated herbs. We got some cucumbers and all of the radishes that we had planted. I think it's actually been 4 weeks. I should have harvested it 3 weeks, but I didn't get to it. So we've got the radishes, the cucumbers, and then this little harvested beans right here, which I am gonna let these dry in the house more, because some of them, like I'll show you how this one is gray. This one is kind of gray. It's not a shiny black. It's actually still wet. So I need to let these, this one also is gray. I need to let these dry more inside, because I can definitely tell. There's the black when it's dry. This one's dry, it's hard. These a couple of these other ones aren't all the way dry. So I will let them dry in the house. So thanks for coming in my garden with me and hanging out with me today while I did things around the garden. And I just want to encourage you that it can be time consuming. It can be a lot. A garden needs constant care, especially in the summer when things are growing really fast, especially those tomatoes and things like that. And as with the zucchini, you saw that I had to rip those out. There are failures in the garden and things don't necessarily go as you planned, but I did get zucchini off of those. It's just, I don't get any more zucchini off of them. And I know that for my area, zucchini is not gonna grow through the summer. So that's just my battle that I have with the bugs that get on zucchini. And that's okay. That's, you know, it's part of learning your climate where you are, so that you can figure out, you know, it's not necessarily anything that you specifically did that messed that up. Like, I didn't do anything wrong with the zucchini, but the bugs got to it. And there's basically, I have tried all kinds of things to get rid of squash bugs and the vine borers, and nothing has worked. They are relentless here. They survive very well here. And there is some squash that I know is supposed to be more hardy to squash bugs and things like that. So those are things to try if you have squash bugs in your area and they decimate your zucchini. But I don't like to focus on the failure of it too much. I like to focus on the fact that I did get 10 zucchinis from 5 plants that I planted. They were beautiful while they were growing and while they were healthy. And I enjoy growing them. I know their fate in the beginning. I know what will happen to them, but I still like to grow them. And that's how it is with a lot of things. A lot of things by the end of the summer might not be looking as good. But we just have to remember that it's worth it to try. The joy that you might get out of something after growing it is worth it to at least try and be able to harvest, even if it's just a little something. Because I know I'm happy about these. Even though it's not that much, it's still something that grew. So I thank y'all for watching. I hope you like and subscribe, and I will see you out here in the garden again real soon, because it's summer and there's always something to do in the garden. I'll talk to y'all next time.